up 1.7% to $9.57 at the moment. Well, businesses are more pessimistic about Australia's economic recovery now than they were a year ago. The second Sage Business Index has found more businesses are feeling less confident this year than in 2011. Well, to tell us more about the survey results, we're joined now by Sage MicrOpay Managing Director Craig Osborne from our Sydney studio. Craig, thanks so much for your time. Just take us through these headline findings about business confidence levels.
Yes, well, we certainly looked at a range of factors that are impacting business. The first thing that we noticed was that businesses were polarised in their overall performance in the last 12 months. We had 1 in 3 businesses say they were performing better, and 1 in 5 businesses was saying that they were performing worse. We found that large businesses particularly were doing better than their smaller counterparts. In terms of business sentiment, we certainly found businesses more pessimistic than they were in the prior year, with 9 out of 10 businesses saying that they expressed concern over the economy. We looked at what influences that then had on their decision making in business, and we found that most businesses were curtailing their business expenditure. Half of businesses said they would be spending less than what they'd spent in the past, and we found that in some areas like staffing, that they were going to reduce their expenditure on new people by a quarter, and similarly some quarter were also holding back on pay increases.
Not surprising, I guess, that retail is the one area as well which is most likely to have deferred business decisions?
Certainly retail was greatly impacted, although we did find that female business owners and decision makers were far more optimistic than their male counterparts.
Just talk to us about the challenges that businesses are reporting to you now, and how are they different, if at all, from last year?
The significant change was an increase in business costs that business was finding, again, particularly in the small business arena. I think the surprising thing for most of them was they hadn't planned to see these sort of increased costs coming through, which I think was alarming a number of them, because they certainly couldn't see that their turnover or their top line was going to improve in the short term.
And just looking at, I guess, the challenges of getting funding as well, what are businesses telling you about their access to credit?
We certainly found that medium to large businesses were having greater and improved access to funding, although it certainly was highlighted by small businesses that they felt that they were severely curtailed by their inability to access funds.
And looking, I guess, at where businesses that are spending money, where they're investing, what are you seeing? Are they looking at those things like technology?
Well, actually, quite interestingly, they were looking at more immediate issues around where they would focus. And interestingly, again, traditional sales and marketing activity was one area that they certainly felt that they would increase their expenditure, certainly the expense of technology and web presence activities.
And what about the types of technology where business owners are looking to spend?
Yes, again, it was actually quite interesting and I think fairly topical. 2 areas where we found that technology expenditure would increase was in mobile devices, giving employees access to business systems via mobiles and tablets, and secondly, and particularly with females and with younger business owners, access and further work with social media.
Overall, I guess with what we've been seeing in the economy, I just wondered when you spoke to these businesses and what sort of businesses you spoke to as part of the index. Obviously, we've had that rate cut earlier this month, so I'm just wondering whether that may change things.
Look, it certainly may change things. The survey was done in February of March of this year of over 500 businesses across a range of sizes, pretty much matching the ABS breakup. So we tried to certainly take a representative group, but it was done a number of months ago. But I think one issue that we haven't seen the impact of is the fact that in the budget there was no cut in the corporate tax rate, which may make things worse again for smaller businesses which are struggling with top-line growth and increasing cost bases.
So you think that perhaps this small and medium-sized businesses catching up with the larger businesses' confidence is going to take some time then?
Look, I think it certainly will. I think if they get a greater access to funds at competitive rates, and I think that's one of the issues that we found, that if they were able to access funds, then they came at a premium, whereas certainly larger businesses have gained access to money much more readily than smaller business. We are hopeful that small business will eventually see some improvements, but I suppose we're heartened by the fact that female business owners are much more positive about the future and about their business performance.
Interesting findings. Thank you so much for taking us through them today, Craig.
No problem, thank you.
Craig Osborne there from Sage. Now, IMF officials have arrived in Australia to have a good look at our banking system. They're here as part of the new stress tests on the banks, which are expected to perform better than our global counterparts. The IMF also wants to get a sense of what's special about our banking system that got it through the GFC relatively unscathed, so it can be ahead of the curve in the event of any future crisis. Well, meantime, the fallout from Europe continues, with Moody's downgrading 26 Italian banks to reflect increasingly tough operating conditions in the Eurozone's third largest economy. The ratings agency says the banks are suffering from the economic recession in Italy, where tough government austerity measures are cutting demand for loans. Italy's largest